Can you all hear me? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. First, I want to thank you guys for coming. And secondly, you guys can thank me for getting you out of school. You're welcome. You are welcome. You are very welcome. Yeah, I know. You're very welcome. You still have homework. So all of you guys got a copy of the book, and I want to start at the very beginning. One of the questions that I always get is, why did I write the book? And where did it come from? I'm going to let you guys all know I'm scared of frogs. So that was one of the reasons I wrote it. The second reason I wrote it is I love scorpions. And although the frogs are the good guys and the scorpions are the bad guys, doesn't mean you can't like scorpions. So I like scorpions. When I came up with the idea a long time ago to pit these two kinds of animals against each other, I thought that there has to be a way to tell a story that you guys would relate to. As you can see, you're all much smaller than I am, but that doesn't mean you're not as strong, right? So that is the whole premise of what the book is and what the story is. You don't have to be the biggest, fastest, strongest, meanest to be the best. You just have to be the best. So that is the base of the story. Everything else is just details. Everything else is just whatever I came up with that I thought made the most sense for the story. It took me a long time to write the book only because it had so many different versions. At first it was just called Poison. I didn't think any parents would buy a book called Poison, so I changed it into Kalapari. Side note, there's a lot of insider things in the book that I don't explain yet, but I will explain them in the next 2 books in the series. The word Kalapari actually means poison. There's a indigenous people to Australia called Aboriginal people. And Aboriginal people, they all speak a different language, and it's a language very foreign to us, very different. So I decided I would base the book and base the characters in Aboriginal mythology. So that's why the word Kalapari. And a lot of people sometimes have problems pronouncing it, and I'll just give you all a piece of advice. Whatever the word looks like in the book, that's how it's pronounced. There's no silent letters. If you see a K and an X, it's that's just the way it goes, all right? So just use that to your best of your ability. I thought of the book in a sense that it's one thing to write a great book, it's one thing to see a great book. And that's why there's so many illustrations in the book, and that's why it's in full color, because it's a cinematic story by nature, right? What I mean by that is, if you read it, everybody can say, oh, it's a movie, or it's a TV show, or this and the other. No, right now it's a book. But at least it's a book where you read it, it gives you an idea of what is happening. Because my thing was, when I was describing the action or describing things that were happening, it's great that things can be left up to interpretation and how you think it looks. It's another thing of what I want you to see. So that's why the book is the way it is. I started studying Aboriginal mythology and Aborigines stories for the series in the book, and I started learning a lot of things that I didn't know, and how they work and how the other side of the world works. I've been to Australia one time. It was before most of you were born. I was real young myself, and I went to the Outback and I saw something. I thought, most people think in Australia the Outback is all desert, it's all one color. It is not. There is a lot of green, there is a lot of trees, there is a lot of water. It is like another planet, quite honestly. All of Australia is. Side fact, in Australia the meat tastes funny, so McDonald's does not taste like McDonald's here. So if you go, don't eat it. So when I started looking into it being set in Australia, what I learned was the animals that live there, mostly scorpions. Forget the koala bears and the kangaroos and all that. I kept them out because they're quite not cool enough. So all the scorpions and spiders and the creepy things that crawl around, they have found a way to adapt. The frogs have, even some of the random things you see walking around. The snakes are a big thing there, and they've all found a way to adapt. And what it seems like is they all live in a certain part of the Outback. So the frogs really can't survive without the water, so they live in the mud. Then the scorpions can't really survive in the water, they can't swim, and I started to look at that and say, I separate them and then have them battle for what the most precious thing is in the Outback, which is water. So that is what the series is about. That's what the book is about. The survival of these characters for water. You can't survive without it. And the scorpions and spiders took it upon themselves to basically use up everything they had, to drink everything, to eat everything, and now they've run out. So what do? They go get somebody else's. And what does that somebody else do? Stand up. And all it is you have to stand up. If you are Kulapari, the main character, Daryl, and again, it's pronounced different ways. I've heard it pronounced Darrell. I've heard it pronounced Daryl. It's pronounced whatever way you think it's pronounced. He is not a poisonous frog. He is not powerful. His skin does not glow in the dark whenever he decides to tap into his poison. He can't leap over a building. He can't leap over a rock. He can't do any of those things, but yet he's the guy that's on the front of the cover. Not the poisonous, cool-looking ones, him. And the reason he is he's always wanted to be Kulapari. He's always wanted to be poisonous. His father was poisonous. His mother was not. He took after his mother. Got no abilities. He's small. He's smaller than everybody else. But what he did get, he got his father's dagger, and he got his father's will. More so than his father's poison. And the poison, although it's very explosive, it makes him like an X-Men fighting, like one of the X-Men fighting characters. We're going to prove, the book proves you don't need that. And when you don't need it, you look at other ways to get stuff done. And that's what he has to do. Even though he's not poisonous, he becomes their leader, which is the culmination. I'm not going to tell you how the series ends, but I will tell you that he does become the leader, and he becomes the one to try to save the amphibians from the scorpions and spiders and other stuff coming down the road. I will tell you in the second book, bats show up, green ghost bats. There's something called a ghost bat, and why they're called a ghost bat is their wings are clear. So that's a pretty nasty animal. The other characters, I found this idea of dream casting. Now, everything in the book, I will tell you that everything in the book, as crazy and as made up as it seems, has a story, has a real story behind it. I didn't make any of it up. The stuff that, I took some liberty with stuff, but a lot of this was not made up. In Aboriginal culture, they have something called dream time or dream magic. Honestly, I don't know what that is. I looked it up, and it is a way to get into a spiritual world. And Aboriginal people, that's what they do. So I took this idea of dream time and I split it into two pieces. There's a bad side of it called night casting. There's a good side of it called dream casting. And our characters, some of our characters practice it to deadly effect. The night casting, Queen Jara, the spider, that's what the spiders are. They're night casting animals. And it's their version of wizardry and mayhem and destruction. And you have to deal with her. Daryl and his friends and the frogs have to deal with her. Lord Marmu, the Scorpion Lord, your quintessential big, strong, fast, poisonous, very evil bad guy. At the end of the book, if you've all read it, you see that he goes away and he comes back. In book 2, he's been upgraded, and I'm not going to tell you anything more than that. Some of the other characters, Yabber the turtle, he's a dreamcaster, and what's great about Yabber is at first he's an apprentice of King Sergu. King Sergu is the main turtle that basically made up dreamcasting. And that Yabber is supposed to be this young kid apprentice. We're going to find out that Yabber is the most powerful being in this entire world. And he's just a young kid who doesn't know what his powers are, and he figures them out. So I could go into 1,000 different things about the book and 1,000 different things about the story, because what I feel is going to happen if I stand up here long enough, I'm going to tell you exactly what happens in the second and third book. So instead of doing that, I'm going to give you guys a little while to ask some questions of what you don't know and what you think, and tell me what you think about the book. And really, I can't thank you guys enough for reading it. You guys all have one that's pretty amazing to me. That is I enjoy talking to kids more than I do talking to adults. So, especially about this, because you guys understand it more than I do. Since we don't have a lot of people, everybody gets to answer questions. Because sometimes I've spoken to classes where there's like 300 kids and they all have questions and I can't answer them all. So if you have one, please raise your hand. I will get to everybody. Everybody, please, I'm going to start Angel. That's what it says on your shirt.
What made you create those specific names for the characters?
Ah, that's a very good question. Okay, so that was your question too? That's okay. I'll answer it twice. So the reason why they have the names they do, these are all Aboriginal names. The names all mean something. The names were all taken from Aboriginal culture, and the names coincide with the characters. Daryl, right, the main character. His name means blue sky god. That's what it means, but yet he's a brown frog from the mud. We will pay that off later. Lord Marmu. Marmu means warlord. So he's Lord, warlord. Yabber means he yaps a lot. Daryl's best friend, his name is Garoonigan. We just call him G. The word Garoonigan means heavy. So he's a bigger, heavier guy. He's kind of like Daryl's best friend. So everybody has a name that coincides with what they are in the story. The names weren't just random. But all this you'll find out in book 2 and 3. Although I did tell you already. You will find it all out. Let's just go down this way. Yes, Udo. To become a writer? I did not like, what inspired me first was music. I come from music. And from music I decided to tell a story that was more than 2 minutes long in a song. I decided I wanted to be a writer. But I've written all my life in some form or another. If it was short stories in school, or if it was movie scripts or something like that. And even emails to myself. My wife will tell you I write pretty good emails. So I'm a very, very good writer. So anyway, so that's what inspired me to be a writer. That's what inspired me to write the book, because I saw there was nothing else like this. And my kids are in the back, they will tell you that, one thing to be Mutant Ninja Turtles is one thing to be whatever else, but there was no such thing as a poisonous frog that glowed, and I thought it was a cool idea. That's inspired me.
Why did you pick this book? I mean, how long did you make this book?
How long did it take me to write it? It took me 2 years. It took me 2. It took me 2. It's not a long time. You get my age, trust me. It goes by quick. It took me 2 years to write the book. I wrote it several times. There's probably 10 very bad versions of it.
Did you read me like one
the company printed it. Well, I printed it out myself and I read it. But there's Abrams who bought it from me. They printed it, and that's why it looks as good as it did. Because I sent them the book and they sent me back. I sent them paper. I sent them basically paper that you guys have at school, and they sent me back this. And I was like, wow, good job.
How did you come up with the characters and the theme of the story?
Oh gosh, let me take a seat. How did I come with the characters? The theme of the story, I thought, I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so this is what happened. When I was trying to come up with ideas, and I saw this Roman Empire movie called 300, which I thought was really cool and whatnot. But then I had an idea. I said, well, they're doing this in Greece. If I was to do one in the other side of the world, which is Australia, I can't use people because that never happened. But I can use animals. And the one vision that came to me was a picture of a frog standing on a mountain, and he was looking out over 10,000 scorpions coming to invade his home. And that sparked the idea, just that picture. And that's why it kind of looks like that in the front cover. That's how it started. But that's how I came up with the idea, and those characters were all based on, again, what I thought you guys should be reading. That's all. Back row, next row, nobody. Second row. Why didn't I? Because it would have been, he would have been the hero instead of the kid who has to find the hero himself. It's very, the way the world works is, if they're poisonous, they can pretty much do anything. If you're poisonous, you are basically a superhero. You are, you tap into it, and whatever your brain kind of thinks of, you can kind of do. But I didn't want that to happen. I wanted him to find another way. The way we all had to find another way to get stuff done, to become the hero. You don't have to be the hero to be the hero. So that's why I didn't make it poisonous. Because the book would have been 3 pages long. It would have been But there's a problem. I'm poisonous. I'm going to go get him. And then it would have been over. So that's why he's poison. He's not poisonous. Yes, sweetheart.
When you wrote this book, was your family and friends was the first person to read it?
You want the truth, or you want the answer I'm going to give you? The truth? One of them has read it. One. The one in the back in the middle with the white thing around her neck. My wife has not read it. My other 2 kids have not read it. And none of my friends have read it. But you guys have. You're all now my family. You all come over me. Your turn. Do I think it's going to be a huge success? I wasn't worried so much about a success as much as I was worried about telling a really, really cool story. I want to tell a story that you guys would like. I want to tell a story with characters you guys would like. If only you guys read it, I'm quite fine. Now, my book company's in the back, and he would think different, but I am okay with that. I am okay with that. Your turn, my friend. The Queen Jar? Yes, they do. I'm going to preface that with something different happens in book 2, but right now the Scorpions and Queen Jar. You read the book. You read the book, didn't you? You're very good. So right now the Scorpions, Lord Marvel and Queen Jar decided to join forces. Even though they were enemies before, they decided to join forces so they could. They figured the only way to conquer the frogs, the amphibians, they can't do it alone. They said we have to join forces. We would do it for right now, and we would go conquer the frogs. Now after we conquer the frogs, then whatever. But the only way they can do it, Queen Jara has to tear down the veil. And she has magic, but no warriors. He has warriors, but no magic. So that's why they did it. Very good question. Anybody else on this side? Anybody else on this side? Okay. Start right here. One more. Grumpy. My own book? Out of how many? 1 through 5? 5.5. No, 1. Yes, 5.5. It's a pretty good book. I've read it 10 million times. Anybody else? Yes, my man. All right, so I'll tell you a story. So when I was growing up, I had a cousin, a female cousin who was very, very mean to me. And one day she took a bullfrog, I was probably 8 years old, she took a bullfrog and threw it at me and it hit me and I think I passed out. And I've been scared of frogs since. I'm not scared of getting stung, I'm scared of things that have like, yeah, no, I don't mind slime as much as I don't mind, like if you take a frog, I grew up in Florida too, right? So frogs all over Florida. And you would drive down the street or walk down the street and you see crushed ones in the street and it's just disgusting. I don't like frogs. So that's why. I don't mind scorpions. Scorpions are fun. Because I stopped playing football, I needed something to do. Get it? No, I always want to write. I always like telling stories, whether or not it was writing or TV or movies or whatever. I like telling stories. I figure if you have a big enough imagination, you'll figure out a way to tell your story. If you have a big enough imagination and a big enough story, you'll figure out a way. So it wasn't. You can do both. Put it like that. You can do both. The football season is only 6 months, so you can do the other 6 months. See?
Did you write this book to overcome your fears of frogs?
A little bit, because I didn't want to use it as therapy, or else I would have written like a really sad story. So instead, I used it as motivation to look at frogs online. Like I would have to look at these frogs. I'm not scared of poisonous frogs. Side note, the most deadly animal in the world is a what?
Poisonous dart frog.
Okay. Which kind of frog? Does anybody know which kind of frog?
Blue jeans.
That's very close, actually. It's called a golden dart frog. It's a gold frog. It's this big. The most dangerous animal on the planet is this big. If it touches an elephant's skin, an elephant's dead in 15 minutes. That big. But again, frogs don't have a way to administer their poison. A scorpion can sting you. Scorpions are all that poisonous. Scorpion stings you, you might get a red welt or something like that, but you might get some bumps on your face, you know what I mean? But a poison dart frog, golden frog, if it comes in contact with human skin, kiss yourself goodbye. You're done with it. So that's the idea. This really cute looking golden frog. Oh, it's so cute. Deadly. Just your skin. If you see a frog jumping around, a bunch of colors on it, run.
There is a poison dart.
Excuse me? Let me ask. In the book, did he die? You didn't read the book. No, I'm just kidding. He did, but as you can see, the last page, Queen Jara is trying to. You'll see. I don't know. Another book. Huh? She is back. So is the Scorpions. Now everybody wants your question. There you go. There you go. See? She's bringing it back. There you go. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Why is Queen Donna is like a human slash spider, and she's she don't like the frogs and turtles.
The reason she doesn't like the frogs is, by the way, the turtles, because she at one point was a student of King Sergu, who is the good version, who's the good, basically the good side of the wizards and the magicians in this book. So now she was a student of his, and now she wants to prove that he is not as powerful as she is. The frogs are standing in the way.
But why she's human?
She's not human. She just looks like one. Kind of. That's the best thing. Listen, with a spider, we tried to design her so she looked like a spider, and it looked really funny. So she's a more human-looking one, but she's still a spider. My man, he's at his hand up the whole time.
What is your experience going from an NFL? What is your experience going from an NFL player to an author?
What's experience? It's great. I loved it. It was weird at first because you tell your teammates you're writing a book and they go, "Oh, I'm writing a book too." And you're like, "We're all writers, but they're bad writers." I'm a good writer. So that was the experience. It was you can do both. You can do both. It's very if you love sports, you can play basketball and write and act anything. A season. I don't know you play basketball because you're too good looking to play football. Who's next? You? The frogs have 2 arms and 2 legs. Is she a spider? No, she has more. She has 6 legs. Yeah, look behind it. She has 6 legs. She's a spider. Spider has 6 legs, doesn't it? Which spider has 4 legs? Please tell me. I need to put that in the book if there's one with 4 legs. I'm so into it. Your turn, sweetheart. I can't hear. She is mentioned in the book, but not a lot. In book 2 she is. Because the story is about him. And remember, there's 3 books. It's one story. It's one long story. It's not 3 different stories. It's one very, very long story. So in the second book, she takes front center in book 2. But you'll see more. She's a great character. And she does some pretty amazing stuff in book 2. This whole cluster back here, let me get these guys.
Do you identify as Darrell?
I don't.
Do you identify yourself as Darrell?
I don't identify. He asked me, do I identify as Darrell? I don't. I love him as a character, but I identify with, more than likely, I identify more with the Turtle King. I like the Scorpion. I look like him. But I identify more with the Turtle King. I think, and just trying to, you find a way to keep yourself calm in the worst of situations. And that's what I made him. He always smiles no matter how bad or good things are going. So I hope you guys identify with Darrell more than anything. I'm not a kid.
What's your favorite part in the book and why?
Oh, my favorite part of the book? I'm gonna tell you what my favorite part of the book is. My favorite part of the book is there's a scene where Darrell has to go back to the Turtle Coves to get the Kulapari and the poisonous frogs. And they're like, we have to get back to Amphibians very quickly because Lord Marmo and the Scorpions are marching towards the frogs and they're gonna slaughter everybody. So Darrow's like, how are we gonna get back so fast? And the Turtle King says, you're going to ride sailfish. The ridiculous idea of a frog standing on the back of a sailfish, jumping out the water, is just completely awesome to me. That is my favorite part of the book, quite honestly. It is a notion, it's basically frogs windsurfing on the back of a fish. How could that not be awesome? Your turn, sweetheart.
What do you like most about the character Darrow?
What I like most about him is that he has no choice but to stand up. And the other part is his best friend was kidnapped. His best friend is caught by the scorpions, and he has a choice. His choice is to run back to the amphibian land to try to get help, or to just buckle up and say, I'm going to go save my friend no matter what I have to do. And that is a choice that he makes that fast. The book, at the end of the day, honestly, the book is about friendship. It's about a friendship between two friends, about a friendship between two guys, and that's what. And then when you read the book, the part where G sees Darrow and he's in a cage about to get eaten, he sees his best friend. It's like, you came back, you came into the scorpion camp and did all this to come rescue me. That's when Darrow becomes a hero, in my eyes. When I came up with that part, I was pretty satisfied. Your turn, boss.
What made you put a three-toed skink, mercenary, and a lizard?
Because lizards are a big part of it, are a big part of the outback, and I thought lizards, they're not amphibians and they're not arachnids. They're kind of in the middle, so they're kind of like France. They'll fight for anybody who pays them. So that's why I put them in it, because the lizards to me don't have a side. They don't have a side. They say, listen, we're mercenaries. We will fight for whoever wants to pay us the most money. And that's why they're in there. And they're pretty good characters, and they do some things at the end of this book, if you've read it, that you don't see coming. He's had his hand up a long time.
What was your favorite character and why?
It's the turtle. It's the turtles because they don't fight so much with their hands as much as they fight with the magic. And we're going to find out that the youngest turtle, Yabber, he does something pretty cool in this book. Which you haven't read it yet. He does something really cool, and we start to see how powerful he becomes. In the second book, he does some stuff that we're going to find out who the boss is. We're going to the Yabber the turtle. You again, sweetheart.
In the book, when the turtle king was living in Turtle Cove, how come we in the book we didn't make it as an amphibian?
Because he's not an amphibian. That's why. The amphibians is really they're only for salamanders and frogs, right? So in the second book, the salamanders show up. So I wanted amphibians in the amphibian lands. Not that anybody else isn't welcome, because platypus show up in the second book and they go to the amphibian lands. Everybody's welcome, but that's their home. And turtles need more water. Turtles are at home on the beach, whereas frogs aren't at home on the beach. Frogs, saltwater, no such thing as a saltwater frog. Even though they can go in there, but it burns them. So turtles love salt water and frogs don't. That's why. And plus the Turtle Cove is awesome. It's like a big beach in the Bahamas. Who doesn't want to live there? Basketball player.
What does it take to write novels like this?
You know, it's not that difficult, because once you have the story, this whole thing started with a paragraph. Started with one paragraph. And what do? Add another paragraph, another paragraph, another one. Next thing you know, you have 10 pages. And once you have 10, I'll tell you what, if you're going to write a book, the hardest part of writing a book is the first 10 pages. After that, it's easy. After that, now you're just going like, here's another idea, here's another idea. It's the starting of the first 10 pages. Once you get the first 10 pages, then 10 pages is 3 paragraphs. It's 2.5 paragraphs. You can write, see? It's not that long, is it? Write 2.5 paragraphs. That's a page. Write another 2.5 paragraphs. That's a page. And then all of a sudden you have 10 pages, and it's so easy. Once you get past that, easy.
When will you make your next book?
Next book comes out October 14th. It's the second book in this. It's called The Rainbow Serpent. That's your birthday?
No, I said that's supposed to know.
Oh wow.
Rainbow Serpent.
So yeah, it's called the Rainbow Serpent. This one's called An Army of Frogs. The next one that comes out October, while you guys go back to school, is called The Rainbow Serpent. The third one is called Journey to Illusion. The Rainbow Serpent is very, it's a very sad. It's the middle part of this series. It's the middle part of this story. It's very, very sad. A lot of you are gonna cry, and that's what I want you to do. You again, sweetheart. You the best. Why did the veil have to break down? It's because it's the only way the scorpions can get into the Amphibians. The whole idea with the veil is camouflage. So basically what the scorpions do, they march, they're like, the frogs are around here somewhere, and they wind up marching in a circle because they can't see it. The veil protects them, not like a dome where you can't, like you have to crack on it. You literally march around it. You march around it, you think you're going straight, but the veil confuses all the scorpions, and they wind up walking around the amphibians or on the outside and like, we were just here. I know that. There's a veil. So they know they can't find the amphibians unless the veil comes down. Once the veil's down, then you'll see it. You know, it's like a mirage. How do they know? Because the Spider Queen, she knows where the veil is because she's the other side. King Serval will put the veil up, she can tear it down. So they know it's there. You see that? Did I answer your question? You sure? You sure? Positive? We're good. We're good. Him in the back.
In the next book, will the scorpions attack again? Like,
Yes, they do. And that's all I will say. There's some other stuff that attacks. There's some more stuff that attacks. And Tasmanian devils show up. See? I don't think you asked a question yet, have you? Yes, you. Yeah, you did. Good.
What was some emotions you felt while writing the book?
Emotions I felt while writing the book. I felt some anger because I didn't want some of the characters that fall in the book. I didn't want them to fall, but they had to. I felt happy when I finished it. I also felt good for Daryl when he became the hero. Because he spent all this time, all of his life preparing for a battle that was never supposed to come. He spent all this time training with his friends and fighting with sticks and all this type of thing, saying, I'm Kulapara, and his friends are going, no, you're a brown frog from the woods. Go sit down. But then it happened. And all his training and all the work he was doing, it was supposed to pay off, but he knew very quickly when he saw the Scorpion Lord, I can't fight him. You know what I mean? So that was satisfying to me.
What events in your life inspired you to write the book?
Boredom. No, it was going to Australia once. Once I went to Australia once, I always kept in the back of my head. There's a cool story out here somewhere, so I kept that in the back of my head. Homeboy, there he is.
Do you think that you will ever turn the book into like a movie?
It will be on TV next spring.
Oh,
This
wow.
one. This will be on TV next spring. Yeah. And no, it's a TV show. It'll be a TV show. It'll be 26 episodes. I can't hear him, guys. I can't hear him. Yeah, there's snakes in the next book. There's snakes. There's also Komodo dragons. There is Tasmanian devils. There is platypus. And there is a bigger scorpion than even Lord Mormon. A worse scorpion. He is deadly.
What channel is going to be the TV show?
I don't know yet. I think it's going to be on Netflix.
what?
Yeah. Give you some advice on writing? Okay, this is a good question. Advice for writing.
Cartoon Network.
Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea you want to write? Okay, all right. When you come up with an idea, use your own life to come up with an idea, right? Use something that happens. A small little idea. Like my idea for this book came in one picture that I had in my head of a frog standing out looking at 10,000 scorpions. And that's how it starts, right? What you do is don't worry about writing it in order. Just start writing down random ideas. Like I started with this. Frog stands and watches 10,000 scorpions march towards his home. The next thing I wrote was, there is a scorpion who basically upgrades himself. And the next thing I wrote was, maybe there's a spider who knows magic. The next thing that and it wasn't in order. It was out of order. Because once you start getting all those ideas down, then you put them in order. Don't worry about writing a book. Write down some ideas. But then from those ideas, write a story, a small story. Then from that story, write a book. You got me? Good, I can't wait to read it.
When did your book come out?
Came out last year, last spring. It'll be 1 year old May 13th.
When was book 3 come out?
Book 3 next summer. It's called Journey to Uluru. Uluru is a big rock in the middle of Australia. October 14th. And it takes place, see this one takes place, the thing about Australia people don't know is Australia is like America but upside down. So this takes place in the amphibian lands, it's green. The second book takes place in the snow mountains. In Australia, the snow mountains are on the bottom of the country, not the top. Anybody amazed? I was. I guess not.
I have a question for you. It was like, do you think that, can you tell us the animals that might be in like the second or third book?
Yes. In the second book, there's a platypus, or platypi, a lot of them. There is ghost bats, there is Tasmanian devils, there are snakes, and there are, what did I say? Snakes and kimono dragons.
What are
What are what?
ghost bats?
Ghost bats? All right, ghost bat is a bat that's indigenous, that you can only find in Australia. And what they call them ghost bats because when they spread their wings, they're not black. The wings are clear. You can see through the wings. They're a nasty piece of work.
What part would those animals play in the book?
I can't tell you right now, can I? And in book three is something called Birds of Prey show. So there are birds in the third book, and stingrays and man o' wars. Yes. And all kinds of nasty things. Yes. The second book, yes. Again, and then you. Yes, no. I've written the second book and it's in my pocket. It's in my pocket on my phone. And no, I will not tell you. Your turn, Sina.
And the two new books that you wrote, does it have some of the characters' names in
From that book? Yeah. Some of those characters make it to the second book. All of them do. Except for the ones that Kura. Except for the ones that don't make it out of this book. Can I name one character in the second book? Can I name all of them? I'll give you one. Name 5? I'll give you one. I'll give you one. I don't want to give away the other one. I want to name one. Her name is Oko Pippi. Oko Pippi is Pippi the platypus. Oko Pippi. Your turn again, sweetheart. Why did Kura does have a mother? Kura does have a mother. It didn't show no because I couldn't put everybody in the book. I only have 260 pages. We will meet everybody as the story goes on. I promise. You will see everybody shows up. Everybody has a mother and father for the most part. He doesn't have a father. But the second trilogy, the second 3 books that come out in a couple of years are about his father. So we'll tell that story as well, which is really him. Who hasn't asked a question? Yeah, you got it. Go ahead.
In the next 2 books, is Daryl going to be a father?
He's gonna be no. He's a little bit older than y'all. He's not gonna be a father. No, he's not. The third book, nope. The whole story takes place over the course of probably 6 months. So he's not going to be that much older, but he will be a changed man. Trust me. Your turn. You've not asked a question yet. Red.
Is Danny on the other books like he's not gonna be like eliminated like
No. Daryl, he does survive. He does survive, but that's all I will tell you. Is he what? There's lots of tragedies going to happen, but you guys will love how it is. Your turn. When I wrote it, was the part that made me laugh. part that made me laugh in the book. None of it made me laugh as much as the part in the very beginning where Daryl wants to be Kulapari and his friend puts him in the water and he says, "What color do you see?" And Daryl says, "I see like a noble green." And he says, "No, you are a brown wood frog." And that made me laugh in the sense that he's correct, but eventually Daryl does become noble. Later on, I'm giving away too much of this. It's unbelievable. I can't believe y'all making me do this. On what? Second book's gonna cost? I have no idea. You ask the man back there in the blue jacket. That's sitting on his phone, not paying attention. Why did I retire? Because I'm old. Your turn. They don't. They do not. But I will tell you this, that the Turtle King's apprentice and the Scorpion Lord run into each other at some point in book 2. Can't believe it. I'm like spilling all the beans. Homeboy right there behind you. Have I seen a scorpion? Oh yeah, I've seen lots of scorpions. At the zoo. Why is Captain Killer have one eye? I'm gonna explain that in the second book. Because he's a pirate basically. Most pirates have an eye patch. Somebody poked his eye out. But that's very good, you know that. In the back, no wait, you've not asked a question yet. There you go. The way it did? Because it was too easy to make him poisonous. If I'd have made him a superhero like everybody else, the book would have been very short and it would have read like something that I didn't write. But again, it's about overcoming what you see as a weakness and make it into a positive. That's all. That's the reason I wrote it.
Were there any obstacles that you faced when you started playing football?
When I started playing football, yes, I didn't know how to play. When I started playing when I wanted to play in middle school, they said, "Oh, you're gonna play tight end." And I was like, "What's a tight end?" So I had to learn how to play the game. That was the biggest obstacle. And everybody can play if you get some good coaching. You know what I mean? So that was the biggest thing. I knew nothing. I knew very little about it. My parents knew very little about football. We all loved to watch it, but we didn't understand. We didn't know anything about it. You know, my parents are from Jamaica, so not like they grew up Giants fans or nothing like that. Huh? Like your mom? Jamaican?
No,
Oh.
I mean that sounds just like it.
Yeah. Well, all you do is get some good. Now you have YouTube. You can look it up. I didn't have YouTube as a kid, so there was no. Who's Jamaican? You up? Are you looking? Yes. Well, the answer is yes. Whatever you would ask.
And your new two books, why does the character look like you?
No. No. They don't like football players. I left that behind. I can say no to that one. Yes. That's not a yes. That's a no. That's a no. Homeboy right here is his hand up.
Why don't you put any graphic cartoon characters in the stories?
Like cartoon characters? What do you mean, like SpongeBob? SpongeBob would have last 5 seconds in this story. They'd be wiped off the map. They'd be wiped off the map instantly. SpongeBob would have lasted 3 minutes. Yeah, they're done with it. 2 seconds. All right, 2 more questions.
Mr. Price will sign.
2 more questions. There's one there. Yes.
I played the SpongeBob video.
Next time I see you, will you be happy if I bring a scorpion inside the boat?
Absolutely. Don't bring a frog. You bring a scorpion. Absolutely. I'll sign it.
Yellow frog. Sign my case.
No, you will not.
All right, one last question.
One last question. Tom and Jerry guy.
At the book.
Who inspired me to write it? Who? My parents. My parents always said you should write a book.
At the book.
Hey, go read a book. Go write a book. Okay. So I wrote one.
I inspired
There it is.
I have a question to ask you. You were talking about, when you were talking about football, you were saying what anybody can learn to play football and what you really need is coaching. So when you write a book, you sell the book to an editor, and an editor is like a coach. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about what the editor does for you.
All right, so this is really great, because when I wrote the original version of the book and I wrote the pitch and I gave it to the book company, they saw that the 4 main poisonous frogs, there was 3 boys and 1 girl. And for instance, the best thing that my editor said, and she said a lot of things, I'm a female, she said, make another one of the frogs girls. She said, make 2 boys and 2 girls. I said, well, I'm supposed to, she said, no, make them 2 boys and 2 girls. And you know what? That worked out to be the best piece of advice for this book. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, because it wound up that you have a character you like, you have a character you like, all boys like poisonous frogs. I get that. But to have strong female characters in the book was very important to me, because I have 2 daughters myself, and I wanted them to be just as happy with superhero frogs as much as I was. So that was one of the great things. The editor kind of walks you through the process, helps you change things, makes the story better. And I didn't know I needed one. I was like, no, my story's perfect. She was like, no, it's not. Now it's perfect because of my editor. And I will answer your question because I know it's about an editor.
You know how you made the band called you know how you made up
Arabanu, yep.
How come Arabanu and Daryl they're originally friends?
They're not really friends right now, but they're not enemies. They're both frogs, but it's kind of like Arabanu is the bully. Him and his gang are the bullies in the village, and Daryl spars with him and things like that. But that changes in book 2. I just gave that away. I can't believe that. Last question. Homeboy in the back.
If you think the book becomes more popular, will you write more books?
Yeah, there's another one coming out in October 14th, called The Rainbow Serpent. That's part 2.
I know, but like if
something else? I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about writing a book about
space cats.
It's very funny. It's close enough about gorillas.
I know some SpongeBob masks.
It's gonna be cool. Trust me. You'll love it. No, this is my first book. This is my first knowledge book. And your second question is?
That I wanted to know, like, if you had a chance to write a book about a specific mammal, what would that book be about?
Gorillas. It'd be a gorilla. Because gorillas I can make like humans. I can make them very close to what we do. So that's what I do. I do gorillas.
So you guys, Mr. Price is going to stay for a little bit longer and sign all your books, so we'll need to be organized to do that. But we want to get a photograph with you all holding up your copy of the book, and I wonder if you mind sitting in your seat and doing that, and getting a picture from this side with you holding up your book so that we can put it on our website.
There you
So
go.
can you all hold up your book?